Okay, my next guest got to see Donald Sutherland's talents up close firsthand. Jon Cassar directed the film Forsaken in 2015, starring the actor alongside his son, Kiefer Sutherland. And Jon joins me now from Los Angeles. Jon, thank you so much for your time and my condolences.
Oh, thank you very much. And yeah, sad circumstances, unfortunately, we get to talk.
Absolutely. But let me start. You obviously learned the news today, I assume, along with all the rest of us, that Donald Sutherland had died. What ran through your mind when you heard that?
Yeah, it was so sad. I mean, he's the kind of man and actor that you just think will always be around. He's been around for so long in my career, and watching all the movies that he's made and that I got to work with him, that it was almost unbelievable to me, quite honestly, when I found out.
Yeah, what was it like to get to work with someone like Donald Sutherland?
Well, again, just the idea right away was amazing. It was a film that Kiefer put together basically because he wanted to work with his father. They had sort of crossed paths on a few films, but never really looked each other in the eyes and had scenes together. And so he designed this film and sort of came to me, and I said, yes, you and your father together? Of course I'm going to direct that. Why wouldn't I? I mean, it's just amazing. And if you've seen the film, you can see the scenes. They had 30 scenes together. And so it was a challenge. It was a tough movie. But I think at the end of it, they both came out of it, I think, better for it. I think even just as father-son.
In his statement that he put out, Kiefer Sutherland, Donald's son, called his dad. He believes he's one of the most important actors of our time. And, it's not just Kiefer who feels that way. A lot of people feel that way about Donald Sutherland. Why do people feel that he is such an important actor, do you think?
Well, I think one of the things is that every part that he played, just the retrospectives that have just been being put out all day, it's shocking to see. You remember him playing different parts, but it's just complete different characters. Many actors, especially ones that sort of find a groove and they stay in that groove. Donald was never like that. He was, as Kiefer said, he was never afraid to try something new, try something ugly, and try something that was well out of what he would consider his reach. And I think that's why. I think everyone remembers him in such unique parts that I think that's what everyone remembers about him.
And you say that it was important to Kiefer to get a chance to work with his dad. How did Dad feel about it? How did Donald Sutherland feel about working on that movie Forsaken with his son?
Well, I think he relished the idea that he was able to do that, and it's one thing to watch a movie and see your son, act, and you realize what a good actor he is, as Kiefer is. I think it's another to stand virtually 2-3 feet away from him and watch him act right in your face. And I think there were there's an amazing scene in the film where they argue, and it's very heated and it's very hot, and they're virtually inches away from each other. And we did that scene. It took us a day to do that scene. It was quite a good scene. And I'll never forget, Donald pulled me aside at one point and he goes, I know he was good, but he's really, really good. I thought that was so great. I mean, that's wonderful. Yeah. And I think that's good too. I think Kiefer kind of wanted to show his dad. I mean, like we all do, we're proud of our fathers and we want them to be proud of us. I think part of it is that he wanted to do that. Kiefer also recognized too that at that point in his career, he really was kind of playing smaller parts. He was, he was the guest and the guy you put on the poster and that kind of thing. And he really wasn't getting a lot of, starring roles. And so he virtually did this because he thought at that point that people needed to continue seeing him in a starring role. And like I said, it was basically the movies, both of them, in almost every scene. So I think that was part of the reason too.
Can I ask you a question about Donald Sutherland or what you knew of him sort of off screen? He is someone, I actually met him at the Whistler Film Festival in British Columbia. He was the keynote speaker, and I remember everyone was so excited to hear him speak. And then he moved into politics, and not very many actors will do that. But Donald Sutherland was one who did, and he said something controversial about the then government at the time in Canada. And I remember I thought maybe he misspoke, so I followed up, and he didn't draw back from it. He doubled down on it. He was very firm in how he felt and wanted people to know about it. And like I say, there's not that many actors who have those kinds of principles and are so public about them. What did you know about him in that role, in that realm?
Well, amazing. I mean, I didn't really, follow what he did in politics, especially since we don't get as much news about Canadian government as you get about American government here in LA. But I can tell you that he just was one of those guys that, one of those actors, and he was a true gentleman. But even as a gentleman, he was ready to tell you exactly what he thought. And I have many emails, which I've been going through all day, where we just had discussions back and forth about the character and about what he wanted to do and how he wanted to play it and my ideas for it. And then we would just go off into tangents about books about the Old West, and he would send me books, I would send him books, and that continued through the whole film. So for me, there was a complete different relationship off camera, of two guys that just kind of loved movies and talked about movies and talked about the Old West. So that was really endearing to me, and I pulled those letters out and started looking at them, and it was a bit teary-eyed, quite honestly.
You're a Canadian living in LA. He was a Canadian living in LA. And I don't know what your connection still to Canada is, but what do you think his legacy, whether it be Canada or the United States, is going to be?
Well, I agree with Kiefer. I think he's one of the most important actors I think the film industry has ever had, and television. He dabbled in television too. I think he's one of those actors that you're going to look back and see his career and see his films and just realize how lucky we all were to not only see his films, but some of us were incredibly fortunate to work with him.
Canadian director Jon Cassar in Los Angeles, thank you again for your time.
Thank you.